Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone today? Okay, awesome. My name is Sahar Andrade. I am a leadership, diversity, and cultural competence consultant, and I have been doing training for City of Burbank for the last probably 4 or 5 years. Today, my background is actually international marketing, but I graduated from medical school with a psychiatry major. So whatever I do is based on psychology rather than, even in leadership, I base all the leadership theories on psychology because at the end we are human beings. Even a leader is just a human being, and the more we find who we are inside and how we deal with others, the better our relationships will be. And it couldn't be more true for today's workshop, which is emotional intelligence. And I call it workshop, not a training or a lecture, because there is a lot of work involved. We're going to be working together. We're going to be doing activities and talking, and I see familiar faces. So whoever has been in my workshops before know that I pick on people, because we not pick like I pick on you now, so you can share your thoughts and ideas. This is a safe environment. You know, for me, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, everything here is confidential and is safe. There is no judgment. There is no right or wrong answer. And there is no right or wrong or even stupid question. You know, for us, it's going to be like a discussion for the next 3 hours. But before we go through, I usually like to go around the room and ask you your first name and which department. No titles, nothing, and just tell me why you're here today. You know, what are you looking for to take away from today's session? Emotional intelligence has been between psychiatrists and psychologists since the 40s. But it became an actual expression that people paid attention to. Okay, thank you for the music. that paid attention to in the late 1990s by Dr. Dave Goleman. He wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence. And I can tell you that this book kind of changed my life. You know, it brings so much enlightenment in everything around us. And being from a medical background, I always believed in always treating the roots and not the symptoms. Because the symptoms, you treat them and you might be hiding the problem more and it becomes even worse. So that's why it's important to go always to the root. Like having a headache and just taking Advils for it. And we don't know what's causing the headache. And the headache can be a vision problem, can be high blood pressure, can be, God forbid, even a brain tumor. But just taking Advil, we're just numbing the pain without really knowing what's causing it. And the more we don't know what's causing an issue, the more it festers in the dark, and we just treat symptoms, and then at the end it might be something not manageable. So the root of anything that we do in life is what we call emotional intelligence. So today what we're going to do, we're going to go through the definition of emotional intelligence. What does it mean? How to apply it in our life? What does it mean for us, you know, as individuals? And it's basically made of 4 main points that we're going to discuss through it. And going through it, we're having some activities. One of the activities is like 30 questions that you're going to have to answer. And then we're going to rate each other so you would know where you are on the spectrum of emotional intelligence. And just to let you know, and we're going to learn that through the session today, is that emotional intelligence is a learned ability. So we all can learn it. It's not something that we're just born with. It's not, we call it EQ or EI. It's not IQ. IQ, we have no choice. We are born with it. High, low, it doesn't matter. But EQ is actually a learned ability that can be increasing with time. It depends on us and where we want to go in life. So emotional intelligence is actually part of that affects everything that we have in life. I mean, let's face it, everything, like the video said, everything we do in life is based on how we feel. Like, we wake up in the morning and we are fine, you know, and then we drive and then someone cuts her off, and it just like all our emotions takes a turn to the worst. And I used to be that way. When someone cuts me off when I was younger, I would just like drive behind them and cut them like they cut me before, and just like, you cannot do this to me, and it can ruin the rest of my day. And then I learned later on, it's just like, oh, he might be in a rush, you know what I mean? Or he might have an emergency going for, or she might not have seen me, or you know what, just delaying me this way might prevent something big, worse that can happen to me later on. I could be involved in an accident or something, and those few minutes of delay can mean the difference between it happening or not happening. It's all about the circuits in our brain and how we think about things. Are we negative thinkers? Are we positive thinkers? And if we are even negative thinkers, because I used to have like the worst negative thoughts, the worst fears, and we need to remember that all these limiting beliefs that we have of ourselves affect our self-confidence, our assertiveness, the way we deal with others, the way we project others. And most of you here want to have or want to better their leadership skills. So a leader without emotional intelligence is not really a leader. So that's why it's important. And leadership, by the way, is not a title. It's not, a manager is not necessarily a leader. And a leader is not necessarily a manager. And we need to know the difference between management and leadership. A leader is someone that just can lead people, can motivate people, and inspire people to live. So the emotional intelligence workshop today hopefully will help us identify basically how we feel and how these emotions are affecting our emotions with others. Like the more I learn about it, the more I find that I deal better with people. Even my personal relationship with my husband is better because it's about empathy and putting yourself in other people's shoes. And we're going to talk about empathy today. Did we ever think about the word empathy, or what does it mean?
Yeah.
What is it? What does it mean to you, empathy?
Actually putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and experiencing what they're feeling.
Without feeling sorry for them. This is the differentiator between, like compassion, there is a difference between compassion and between empathy. Compassion is like when you feel, oh, poor thing. You know what I mean? But actual empathy is like, you know what? Someone comes to me and tells me, you know what? It's just like, I am so sad because today is, for example, my father's anniversary. He passed away 5 years. And I'm like, you know what? I really feel your pain because my father passed away 12 years ago. And I know this pain will never leave you. It will always stay in your heart. But every now and then they will shine upon you and they will let you know that they are around. You know, so you actually, I'm not feeling sorry for that person, but I'm in their shoes because I can feel what they feel. And this is the proper name of empathy. And it's not, and I know that people can fake empathy sometimes, but remember, faking emotions can take you so far. And then we all have that, like a GPS inside of us that can know the fake emotions from the right emotions, even if we get fooled for a while. And that's why the most important part of emotional intelligence is being genuine. So let's talk a little bit. I started talking about negative thinking. So say, let me ask you this, and again, whoever came in, there is no right or wrong answers. When you look at a glass of water that has, half of it has water, okay? Do you look at it as half empty or half full?
Half full.
Why?
Because I could have both of it if I want.
Okay. Chloe, half full or half empty? There is no right or wrong answers.
I know, I was just trying to think what my initial thought was before hearing hers.
No, I want you to go with your instinct. Because today, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about our emotions. And about emotions, there is no right or wrong emotions. We can make them better to serve us better, but there is no right. I cannot tell you, oh, you're feeling wrong. And my feeling is better than your feeling. We can do that, you know, so it's you. And you'll be surprised how many answers I heard throughout my life when I asked this question. And some were like, I'm like, I don't know if I agree with you, but yeah, but you make sense. You know, so how do you feel? Empty or full?
I think my initial is half empty.
Okay, why?
For the same reason, because you can add to it.
Okay, so you have the same kind of thinking that you can add to it, but you see it empty and she sees it full. And that's what I'm saying. We can all be looking at one thing and our perceptions are different. Denise,
I would say that it's half full,
why?
because I can go add more, or I'm thinking about when I can leave my desk to go.
To go for it. Okay. I want you to know the word is as we see it, not as the word is. Let me repeat that. We see the word as we are, not as the word is. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk, perceptions are realities to us. But we forget, because we see everything through our lenses. And our lenses are affected by our background, experiences, cultures. But we forget that the person next to us has a different lens. So they perceive things. And I think this is the major point that most people miss. That I see something in a different way than you do, but we are both okay. Accepting differences is not necessarily agreeing with them. Accepting differences meaning that we accept that there are differences and the differences are okay. It doesn't mean I don't have to agree with you to accept you. I just have to accept that you're different than me and I'm fine and you're fine. So the negative thinking, our brain, whenever something happens, our default thinking is like, oh my God, what can go wrong? You know, that's the first thing as human beings. I mean, our brain is wired that way. Unless we train our brain that, okay, I go this route, but I change it right away. And that's what emotional intelligence is. It's changing the negative into a positive. And why we think positive right away? Because this is our default mechanism in our brain. This is our defense mechanism. Since the caveman, our brain, believe it or not, has never been modernized. We don't have a new version of software in our brain. We stayed with the same software since the caveman that basically was always protecting themselves and their family from death, from being purchased by someone that wants to take their food, or from a killer animal like a lion or something. Our brain stayed that way. We're just using a different manual now, but we still have the same applications. And this is why our defense mechanism is our brain will always default to our protection. And our protection is always the negative things. That's why your fears come out, so you don't move, so you don't get out of your comfort zone. Because why? Because you know the good, the bad, and the ugly in your comfort zone. But once you step out of that comfort zone, what happens? It hits you anxiety and fear of the unknown. And that's why people become complacent in their places. So negative thinking is the default one. And it's uninvited, actually. And it takes more work to change the negative to positive. And that's why it takes training. And being emotionally intelligent is a long life-term journey. It's not like you train today and next week and then stop and I'm like, okay, I'm emotionally intelligent. It doesn't work that way. And it doesn't happen overnight. You just have to keep it going on your whole life. And also, when you start thinking, positive thinking, like I can do this, your circuits in the brain will work together to offer solutions for you that you can actually achieve that. Remember the old word when we first got computers, we would say garbage in, garbage out? That's the same thing. Your brain is a computer. Whenever you put garbage in, that's what you get, garbage out. But if you put positive thought, that's how you get positive thought. And once you have that positive thinking, all your actions and reactions become part of who you are in achieving your goals. So, and I know it sounds like voodoo right now, but hopefully by the end of workshop we will know what we mean. The negative thinking is everything we call self-sabotage. And self-sabotage are all the fears. The fear of failure, fear of ridicule, fear of embarrassment, fear of losing things. And there is something called the imposter syndrome. I don't know if any of you know what that is. Once we get into a certain position and we get promoted and everybody's looking at us, the first thing we start saying to ourselves, oh my God, do I know what I'm even doing? Are they going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing? Are they going to make fun of me? I'm going to, and we can go even to extremes thinking, are they going to find out that I'm a fraud? That I was here at the right place at the right time, that it wasn't really meant for me. And I remember when I first started my business 6 years ago, after like it went great for 4 months, I got paralyzed by that imposter syndrome. It was like, do I really know what I'm doing? Am I good enough to go through this? You know, and I knew that I had all the qualities and background and experience and education that I needed, but it's still there's fears and negative thinking stopped me. You know, and I had to actually re-regulate my brain to be able to move forward. So positive thinking takes a little bit of more thinking, and we have to have a balance in our lives between optimism and pessimism. I mean, we don't have to see everything is rosy and pinky and everything is hundy-dory, everything is going to happen, and just like we cannot go that way also, because we have to face realities every now and then. Because let me tell you, life will always send us some curveballs. Something will always happen, but we need to be mentally prepared for that. It's okay. If we are prepared mentally, let's go through it, you know, because life is not going to always tap you on the back, you know, and just tell you you're okay. It's not going to happen that way. We cannot control what life throws at us, but we control 100% our reaction to what happens to us. Something can happen. Do you see people, something big happens to them and say, you know what, it's okay because I think there is something behind this. Maybe there is a lesson behind that. You know, and some people, everything is doom and gloom. It's like, this happens only to me. You know, nothing good can ever happen to me in my life. And all these are the negative circuits that we go through. And it's all right. It's human to go down and feel sorry for yourself sometimes, as long as it doesn't control your life. We cannot become a victim of our circumstances. And I know it's easier said than done, but it is done. You know, and it's just like, it's a choice at the end that we have in life. I mean, obviously, we are here to learn about emotional intelligence, and part of it is like how to take back control of your life. You know, I personally believe that everything that happens in our life, no matter how bad it is, happens for a good reason, even if we fail to see it at the time. Later on, it will translate itself to you and will show you why it happened. We can never know. Like you go for a promotion and you know that all your hope is in it, but you don't get it, and you know that you are very qualified. But what you don't know is maybe you didn't get that promotion because something better is saved for you a year or 2 years from now. Maybe you cannot see it at the moment, but we have to have that positive thinking about it. So what do we see in this picture? Black dot. We all see a black dot? What do you see, Denise?
I see like you're in the center of, you have two sides or two directions you can go in, or maybe four. So that's what I see.
That's a positive, okay. Usually people, you know, the black dot is what, 5% of the white rectangle? And that's what the only thing we see, the black dot. This is how our brain is. We focus on the negative. We are missing 95% of the white space around it, and like you said, the 4 directions that we can go through. So always remember the black dot. Think about the 95% white space around it. And you know what? People always think about the 5% that they don't have. And they forget that they have 95% of blessings in their life. But they focus on the 5%. And this way they lose their life, and they lose even their enjoyment in life. And here is the same thing. People can look at this and say, oh, the mug is ruined because it has a hole. And some other people can say, no, it can be like this. I can use it for a pen holder. I can use it like a little vase with water in it. It's how we look at things. Again, is the glass half full or half empty? So we can start. Let me give you some tricks or tools on how to start changing yourself from negative to positive. It's fine and dandy to say we're negative, but the question that I get always like, okay, what can I do about it? Okay, so the first thing, again, the steps are going to come slowly, and the changes you're going to see in yourself slowly, but even slowly is a progress, and we need to embrace that. So the first thing is to really understand that we are in control of our life. No one can ruin your day except you. Like, I had a client yesterday that I was coaching, and she was telling me, you know what, I was on that board and they were manipulating me and they were letting me, and I'm like, hold on for a second. No one can manipulate you without your permission. If you let them manipulate you, they will manipulate you. But it's up to you to stop them doing that. And no one can take advantage of you unless you let them take advantage of you. We need to know that we are in control of our life. No one can mess up your day except you. You let others mess your day for you. The second thing is, we all have issues that happen in our life, and we say, you know what, I will forgive, but I will never forget. So what's the use? What's the use? You need to forgive and forget and let go. It doesn't mean that you just like, okay, out of my life. No, you learn the lesson and you move on. Because when you don't forget, or you forget and don't forgive, or whatever it is, it's like drinking poison, expecting the person that gave you the problem will die. That's what you're doing. You are poisoning your life. You are the one carrying the cross. And the other person might not even know what you're even thinking about. So there is something that we say about that. We say, don't curse it, don't nurse it, don't rehearse it. Whatever happens to you, it just happens again as a lesson of life. And then if you don't act on whatever happens or whatever you want to change in your life, you become complacent. One of the things that people do all the time, they either live in the past or worry about the future. And they miss living in the moment. And you need to live in the present, because present is a gift, right? So you need to live in the present. So in the morning, if you're drinking coffee, you need to hold that cup of coffee. You need to feel the touch of that cup, the contour of the cup, the warmth of the cup. Your taste buds need to taste the coffee. You need to smell the aroma of the coffee. You need to be in the present, even with your family, with your employees. You know, you need to be there, because when you're there in the moment, you can observe their body language. You can see if they're comfortable or not comfortable. They can give you clues on how they feel. Even with your children or with your partners or whatever it is, the moment you stay in the moment, you are with them. You know, and I had to learn that the hard way. After maybe the third or fourth time, my husband asked me about a question, and I was like daydreaming somewhere, and I missed half of what he said, and I'm like, huh? After that, I had to learn how to just, and sometimes, no matter what we do, our brain wanders, but we need to actively tell our brain, stop here. You know, bring it back here. And there are tricks for that. Believe it or not, I think I said that in the last workshop. I used to have an elastic band around my wrist. And whenever my brain goes into negative or fear, or even like I start drifting from whatever, I would just snap it. And when this movement, when you snap it, this pain, this light pain that you get, what it does, it resets the brain. It's exactly when you push a reset button on a computer and restarts it. That's what you do. I breathe a couple of times and it brings me back to the moment. So these are little tricks that you can do that bring you back when your brain drifts. And then we need to understand that everybody is human, so we all can make mistakes. And that's why we need to forgive. To ourselves, mainly forgive ourselves, and then to others. And we need to keep persisting in what we're doing. We cannot just give up right away. It's important to see the good in people, even if we are different with them. And I know it's not easy, and I know it's difficult, but we need, again, emotional intelligence is a learned ability, and we need to start teaching ourselves. We need to differentiate people. Like, if I have an issue with someone, I will say, but you know what, they're really good at that. You know, you cannot, because you don't get along with someone, it doesn't mean that they're all bad. So if you work with someone that you know they're different, or you don't get along with them, at least recognize what they can do good. It's even good for you, you know, because it's part of positiveness. Be of service to others, and of course be authentic. I mean, people will get your emotions on how you feel. And it's important to give in without giving up. And there is a difference. Giving in, sometimes we feel like, okay, we need to compromise here. I'll give in this part of our conflict resolution. I will give in this part because it's not that important for me, but it's important for you. So I will give in here, but I'm not giving up on whatever I want. Do we see the difference? Okay. And by the way, please, if you are lost somewhere, stop me, because I know this is a totally brand new subject. So if something like you feel like I need to repeat it, please let me know.